Hey guys, this is Talrand. Today we're going to be talking about 5 commanders that you guys can build from your bulk at home. So these are going to be 5 quick and easy build commanders that operate very efficiently from just cards that you've probably got sitting around at home from, going to pre-releases, going to drafting, whatever. You've got a whole bunch of bulk sitting at home that you want to make use of, and these commanders are great for that. Now keep in mind they may not be as potent as, more pricey decks, but for the budget they are easily going to hit quite hard and push up into higher brackets. So before we do get into that though, make sure you guys subscribe, make sure you share the video around, all that kind of stuff. Next week, there is going to be a huge panel coming up for the next 2026 full Magic the Gathering, and I'll be covering it the second it comes out. So make sure you subscribe to see that. All right, so the first one here we've got is Talrand Sky Summoner. So Talrand has, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, create a 2/2 blue Drake creature token with flying, which you can kind of imagine how well this is going to go when we're just going to be spamming a whole bunch of little cantrips, stuff like mental modulation here. Tap a creature and then draw a card. It's just going to replace itself. As long as you've got blue mana to be able to cast, you can just spam out heaps of these and create this huge board of 2/2 blue drakes. The other thing that can go is a lot more kind of counter spells as well. Disdainful Stroke here. Counter something that's mana value 4 or less, because now whenever you counterspell, you're also going to create a blue Drake creature token. You've also got Rewind here, and these kinds of cards here that untap lands alongside them are really great here, because now you're essentially, you're casting for 4, but then you're untapping 4, and then you can immediately cast something else as well. We've got Moonlit Meditation here, which is great because now, instead of creating the Drake tokens, we could create something else. Like, we could enchant our Murmuring Mystic, and now we're going to have a flooding board of Murmuring Mystics that also will create birds, and then we can also create our Talrand tokens and just, completely flood the board with so many tokens that are flying. So, they've got that evasion to be able to get some hits in as well. Or, for our win cons here, we've got Proteus Staff. We can pay 2 and a blue, tap it to put target creature card on the bottom of its library. That creature's controller will reveal cards from the top until you reveal a creature card, and then you put that into play. So now all our Drakes can get replaced by, more valuable actual creatures. Or we can use Perplexing Test here to return all creature tokens to their hand, which is not what we're going to do. Instead, we're going to return all non-token creatures to people's hands. So that's just a board wipe, because we're going to have a huge board of Drakes that we're going to send everything else back to people's hand. Next up, we've got Feather the Redeemed. So Feather has, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets a creature you control, exile that card instead of putting it into your library, into your graveyard as it resolves. If you do, you return it to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. So you're going to be able to essentially kind of cycle your cards and keep your cards in your hand that you're going to be using to cast onto creatures you control. So we can use this especially for like combat buffs, right? Like Unleash Fury, boom, double. It goes into into exile, and then we bring it back into our hand. We've got, Sudden Breakthrough here. We're going to give something +2/+0 first strike, but we create a treasure token. So now we can create that treasure constantly and buff up a creature too. We've got Honor, which is really great because it's going to replace itself. You draw a card after you cast it, but it also puts a +1 onto a target creature. So while it's, not a combat buff, it's still buffing up a creature and drawing you cards. Fist of Flame is good here too, because a lot of these are going to be aimed towards drawing us cards, right? Now all of a sudden, you're going to draw a card and then give something a huge amount of buffs potentially. And then finally, Zada, Hedron, Grinder here as like a finisher, because now all of our ones that target one creature will target all creatures. And then also, also from there, we'll be able to go into exile and then come back to us. Or Sunforger is like a, continuously be able to cast those instants. And then, as another finisher, you've got the Chandra's Ignition or Fell the Mighty. As long as you target something that is on your board, it will get exiled and then come back. So you can just continuously board wipe potentially. And if you give, something Lifelink or, Death Touch somehow, I don't think red and white really has Death Touch, but if you do somehow, I guess with like a Basilisk's Collar or something, boom, now you're gaining life every time you cast it. You're also going to be just continuously board wiping. It can be absolutely bonkers crazy. Next, I've got Lathril, Blade of the Elves. So This is as simple as it gets. You go into your green container where you've got all your green cards and stuff, and you just look for elves. There are so many elves, and there are so many bulk cheap elves that are actually quite crazy, like Priest of Titania, yeah, there, just being able to constantly be able to create a huge amount of green mana, or, you know, the Elfish Archdruid as well, create a huge amount of green mana as long as you've got elves. Both are very, very cheap. We've got, like, Herald unites the elves, and Elvish Guidance gets some big elf synergy in here as well. Like, you know, Herald is going to go buff up your elves and then also bring a elf back, and, you know, then finally be able to potentially board wipe when you attack with a huge army of elves. Elvish Guidance again gets you a huge amount of mana, which means you can just cast a huge amount of elves out. We got Dionys, Elvish Archdruid, and Beastmaster Ascension as like two examples of finishes here, because, you know, Dionys is just going to make it so that whenever you tap with Lathril, right, you tap everything down with Lathril, everyone loses 10 life and you gain 10 life. Then you untap thanks to Dionys, and then you can just do it again. Actually pretty crazy. And then Beastmaster Ascension just buffing up all of your elves by a huge amount. We've got Magnus the Red next, and I personally have this deck. So one way you can build it is with like Third Pass to Iconoclast, Young Pyromancer, just get a whole bunch of those things in there that are going to be, whenever you cast something, create a creature token, but that's wrong. That is just straight up wrong. Do not build it that way. Build it as goblins, right? It is just, it's such an unexpected deck. I absolutely love watching people's face as they watch me put out Magnus the Red as my commander, and then I start kind of ramping up, and then all of a sudden it's goblin, goblin, goblin. I'm creating 20 goblins, and now all of my instants and sorceries are reduced by 20 mana. It's actually just really crazy. I love it. It's just, you know, Magnus is the big finisher here more than, you know, actually being like, he's the commander, but he's not necessarily needed for quite a while, because you just want to start flooding the board with a whole bunch of goblins instead. And then you've got, like, you know, goblin synergies here with Brightstone Ritual. Boom, create a whole bunch of mana for your goblins. Ovika is going to be whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you're going to create a whole bunch of goblins, and they gain haste. And oh, I love it. It's just so much fun. And then finally for our finishes here, we've got stuff like Conflagrate, and then Jaya's Immolating Inferno. These big X cost spells that you cast, and then because of the reduction from Magnus, if you reduce this by 20, right, this is now going to be pay 2 red, deal 20 damage to up to each of 3 targets. Or this one here is what, deal 10 damage divided as you choose among any number of targets. Like, you can just deal a huge amount of damage very quickly, because goblins will take over the board so quickly, and therefore, you know, Magnus just gets that huge reduction there. Finally, we've got Arabella, Abandoned Doll. So she's a very interesting one. So whenever she attacks, she's going to deal damage to each opponent, and you gain life, where X is the amount of creatures you control with power 2 or less. So the way to build this one, again, is going to be creature tokens. And I've just realized a lot of these are creature token decks. Creature token cards are quite cheap, and honestly, there's just a huge amount of synergies with them that just work really well. So this one here, you can add in a whole bunch of cards in here that, like, you know, create more tokens. That's what we want to do. Create a whole bunch of little 1/1 tokens, essentially. And then slowly we can build up other stuff, like, you know, Adeline's going to get stronger thanks to the tokens. Anim Pakal's going to get stronger based off the amount of times you've attacked, essentially. We've got stuff like Agate Instigator and Impact Tremors are here, huge here, because these are going to make it so you're going to deal damage each time creatures come in. I mean, because we want to create a whole bunch of, you know, 1/1s, then we're going to create a huge amount of, you know, creatures entering the battlefield to deal this damage. And then for our win cons here, we've got like stuff like Whisper Silk Cloak, make Arabella unblockable. Make her unblockable, or, you know, Shroud's great as well. Or you can use Reconnaissance. Reconnaissance is absolutely an amazing card. And you're probably wondering, hey, this is meant to be a bulk video. You know, this is meant to be a budget. Reconnaissance went down a lot in price. Really need to pick it up. Just get some of him. It's absolutely a bonkers card, because you can use this at any point, right? You can use it as you're attacking, and, you know, before someone declares blocks if you want, or you can use it as someone declares blocks. You can remove them from combat, and therefore she still gets her attack trigger, but you don't deal combat damage, and therefore they won't, like, she won't die. Even though she's just this little 1/3, she won't die. Or you could use it even after you deal damage. You can use it after you deal damage, and it's after that deal damage it happens, and then you untap her. So it's kind of like a pseudo vigilance kind of thing. It's just a crazy card. I love it. It's so strong, and I think people really sleep on it because it's just an absolutely bonkers card in any kind of white-based combat deck. So I'd love to hear from you guys as to what you think, or any of these ones you're interested in, or are there any other cards that you've built from your bulk and stuff? Let me know. Have a great day and goodbye.